Welcome back to Eyes on AFL. In this series, we go through some of your AFL opinions and takes and dive into them a little deeper. With just 1 month to go in the home and away season, there are plenty of things to discuss. The first take is from Mattis Vettel Fan 5, who says Brad Scott needs the sack. Well, another late season fade out seems to be happening again for Essendon. They have lost 6 of their previous 8 games and are now outside the top 8, albeit with a month to go and 3 straight home games before a trip to Brisbane in the final round of the season. Even though they're in bad form, they still are in the mix. But it does have the feel of last year's fade out. You can blame the coach in Brad Scott, but let's get some of the positives in perspective. Sam Durham and Jai Caldwell have emerged as inside mids. Harrison Jones and Xavier Dersma have been great on the wing, and for the first part of the season, the team defence was actually holding together. Now, if you want to blame the coach, that's fair enough, and tactically, there is still room for improvement. But it's the structure of the defence, as you can see here, that is really strange. For whatever reason, all 3 key backs are swapping and changing, and there doesn't seem to be clear leadership. Something is going wrong in this part of the ground, and has been for the past month, and the coaches can't seem to get it right. But the players overall have to take a large amount of the blame too, and that's all over the field. If you want to sack Brad Scott, then surely a group of players have to join him out the hanger. Peter Wright as a key forward has been a disaster, with just 19 goals on the season. Archie Perkins and Nick Cox just haven't developed at all, and key defender Zach Reed is injured once again. Then veterans in Dyson Heppel and Todd Goldstein have struggled since the early part of the year. There has been improvement in the squad, but there are holes in the forward line and with the defensive structures. It does feel like under Scott, the overall culture of the club has improved, but if the last month of games fade out poorly, then maybe that will come under question further. No doubt Brad Scott is under pressure and has work to do in many aspects of the club. Team 109 Speedy is worried about Collingwood's overall age and the young players coming in, pointing Scott Pendlebury at 37 being just about their best player. I think the concern you have is valid. It's crept under the radar due to the Pies' recent success, but the list demographic for the future is vulnerable. Pendlebury is having another fantastic year, averaging a tick over 20 touches per game with a player rating above 12, which is good for any player, let alone a veteran. But as Speedy pointed out, he probably shouldn't be in their top 5 performers most weeks. Besides Nick Dacos, most of the team have stagnated or declined in form. The injuries haven't helped as well, and it's just not been Collingwood's year. With Pendlebury himself, Howe, Sidebottom, Cox, Elliott, Mitchell, Crisp and Myercheck all over 30, it's a lot of key players in the back end of their careers. This is okay, but who are the youngsters coming in? If you look at this list of under 22-year-olds, it's not great, and it's where the concern has to lie. With no first round pick this year, it leaves list management in a dangerous spot. If the older players continue on, the Pies will be fine, but if a wave of retirements and form dips happen in the next year or 2, look out. Play on Footy is keeping it simple, saying Laura Kane laugh out loud. Well, it's been a challenging first year for Kane, who was appointed General Manager of Football at AFL headquarters. She is only 33 years old, and although she has experience mainly at North Melbourne and at the AFL, it's a big job. The umpire issues at the start and midpoint of the year have been resolved, but the draft and competitive balance review is still pretty murky with the football public. Overall, people have been frustrated with Kane and the AFL's communication. Mistakes happen, it's fine, but when you give poor explanations on free kicks, aren't clear with AFL clubs around draft academies and father-sons, and promise to explain on a weekly basis AFL issues, then all of a sudden stop after some umpiring errors, it leaves the football fans with a sour taste. It makes them feel disconnected from what the AFL is doing. If headquarters gets communication and clarity right in the future, then really confusion should be drowned out. Kane is no doubt learning and improving in the difficult role, but she has done some great things so far. Ball tracking technology is well on the way. She clearly wants a fair and even competition for all clubs and wants the game to be as safe as possible. It's been a tough first year, but for the future, Kane and CEO Andrew Dillon will be better off. Next up is this pickup by Oscar116. He noticed that Harrison Jones went off after a big hit against the Saints, but soon returned and spent time at the benches as if he was a sub. Onwards from the big knee to his head, he did end up finishing the game. Concussion protocols were a big focus point coming into round 20. Brisbane got a hefty fine for the way they dealt with Harris Andrews, and Carlton got a warning for their management of Harry Mackay, even though he did pass the HIA testing. But the pickup on Jones' situation is interesting. It begs the question, do clubs all manage head knocks differently? I remember as a Bulldog supporter seeing this Aaron Norton incident, which seemed light compared to many others, but ruled him out. Perhaps because of the situation with Tom Liberatore earlier in the year, the club has become ultra conservative with head knocks. Because when you compare this with Rowan Marshall, Jeremy Cameron and others who were able to play on after sustaining what looked like heavy head knocks, the consistency doesn't seem great. Why are some players tested and others not? Maybe the AFL should dedicate one medical professional to be at every game and force team doctors to look at players for every major head incident. Right now, it looks like every club is on their own and the consistency really isn't there. The final opinion for today's video is from He6476, who says Harry Sheezel is better than Nick Dacos. This will upset a few Collingwood supporters. Now I won't go as far to say Sheezel is better than Dacos, but he's well on the right track. If we look at their stats for 2024 alone, Dacos has a player rating 2.03 higher, gets 1 touch more per game, and has kicked 3 more goals. And because Sheezel has only recently played further up the ground, Dacos also averages 4.4 more clearances and 5 contested possessions per game. However, the last 5 games have Sheezel ahead of Dacos. He's the number 9 rated player in the competition in this time period, while Dacos is at 45. He's certainly catching up to Dacos in terms of impacting the outcome of games, and is well on track for an All-Australian Blazer in his second season, matching what Dacos achieved in 2023 individually. The numbers have the two side by side in the past couple months, and there is now a genuine debate on which player is better, although you can't really go wrong with either of these young superstars. Thanks for watching another edition of Eyes on AFL. If you have any other takes or opinions, feel free to leave them in the comments below for future videos. Appreciate the support.